And he's seen that I'm not only a mother to him, I'm in some way a mother to my brothers. I come from a big family. I have 7, we're 7. And out of the 6 brothers that I have, they come to me. You know, they come to me for one reason or for another. They come to me. I don't know. I didn't only take care of my kids. Now I take care of my brother's kids. I have my sister's son. Sometimes I take care of my brother's little girl. Cries because she wants to sleep over. She wants to stay at Tia's. You know, and that's what they were telling me just last night. Oh, why do the little girl wants to cry? She wants to stay here with you. I said, well, because I show her that I love her. And, you know, I mean, I love kids. Even though I didn't have a lot of kids. Because that's part of being responsible too. I told him if I wouldn't have been a responsible mom, I would have 6, 7 kids. I only had 2 because it's hard. You know, kids you love forever, not until they're 18. And that's what I'm showing him. I go, look at me. I still care for you. I'll still be always after you until I'm gone.
Well, my cousin, unfortunately, rest in peace. He was always a good kid. We grew up together. That was my mom's prima hermana's son. So we were first cousin. We were close. We would always go over. Or they would always come over to the house. My mom and his mom were like sisters. And just recently, like 2-3 years ago, she passed away. And it pretty much hit my cousin's family hard because she was the one keeping them all together. Sadly, when she passed away, the house was kind of breaking apart on its own. And as it is, my cousin was doing pretty bad. He was in and out of juvie, spent most of his childhood in juvie on drugs. And when she passed away, it got a little bit worse. He literally went to the point where my cousins were telling me that he was lost. And I would try to talk to him and help him because we haven't really talked much since the passing of my aunt. But he was in his own world. And unfortunately, Cinco de Mayo day, he felt that he had to take his own life. So he shot himself in the head, first in the heart, then in the head, and he was pronounced dead when the paramedics went. But when the paramedics took him, somehow they revived him. So he came back to life. But nobody knew. My family, no one from my family was there. And the funny thing was that the first one to get the call was my mom somehow. Not even my uncle or my cousins, his sisters. So she got the call and she went over there right away. I wasn't around. I was actually pretty far at the time. But when she called me, I also came right away. I got there like at 1 in the morning, I think. My friend took me and he went with me. Yeah, it was sad to see him on the table. Actually, it was really messed up. Because realistically, if you think about it, everyone at one point has thought about it, or at least most people have. And it's just like something not even funny to think about, just really witnessing it and lying there. It's like it's a whole different story when it's really done. And sadly, the doctors ran a test on him. He was brain dead. They wanted to make sure he was brain dead. So they ran a test on him again. And they confirmed that he was brain dead. He was gonna pass away no matter what. It was only a matter of time. So that's when my cousins decided to donate his organs to my mom and to my uncle because they both are on dialysis and diabetes. It runs really heavy and bad in our family, so they want to try to donate it. Unfortunately, my mom was not compatible because she wasn't on the waiting list and she hasn't gone through proper therapy or psychology for it or something like that. So the doctor messed up on that because she should have been on the list a long time ago. So they didn't give it to her. But my uncle was blessed. He got it. They did the surgery. That same day they just took it out of my cousin when they pulled the plug on him, because they had to pull the plug on him. And they took it out and put it in my uncle. The doctors were really surprised because they say he would have stood at least another 3 weeks in the hospital. The usual thing is he has to be another 3 days after the surgery. 3 days he had to be in intensive care to make sure, and usually the kidney or the transplant doesn't start working within till like 3 days later. They were surprised because after the operation, an hour or 2 later, the kidney kicked in and it started working. And he was getting up and he was walking. He recovered super fast to the point where they took him out of intensive care like literally the next day, and he got released within 3 days, which is really rare. He was the talk of the hospital. Everybody knew the story about my cousin committing suicide and him donating his organs and saving my uncle and the family being happy. And even though the other kidney was donated to somebody else who was on a waiting list because it wasn't compatible for my mom still, she was happy to see my uncle happy, get more life, because as it is, my uncle was always a loner. I was always really close to him too. He used to love me and my brothers, and he used to love having us over, but he was distant from my mom and everybody else for some reason. But now they're talking, and it kind of brought the family together, and it's getting better. And I mean, it was a blessing for at least my uncle to be put out of that, because he was going on his 10th year, and supposedly people on dialysis normally average to live only 10 years once they're on dialysis. If they're lucky, they could live up to 14. The most anyone's ever heard for someone live is 20 years. My uncle was already hitting his 10th year, so it put that on hold. And if he takes care of the kidney, it could last up to 14 years. So we're just praying that it does. I mean, everything was so well so far, and hopefully it stays that way. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not a joke seeing everybody around you when you're on the bed, intensive care, lying there like that. It's really not funny. Like, it's one thing when someone gets into a bad accident, sadly, like Jasper, but it's very different knowing that sadly what happened with Jasper was an accident, and there's nothing that could have been done about that. But suicide is something that you could have prevented, and knowing that the fact of you being there lying like that could have been prevented makes it even sadder. Well, at least to me it does. And it's not funny. Like, it's one thing I know, like, it runs through your mind, like everyone. I've thought about it myself. But, like, thinking of yourself, thinking it and really doing it is just completely different. Like, I could never imagine me committing suicide and putting my family through it like that, especially knowing to see my son. None of that. It's not funny. Sorry. Just sucks because he was so young. When we were smaller, I used to take care of him. In middle school, I was in 8th grade and he was in 6th grade. He used to run up to me and let me know when someone was bullying him, and I would go take care of him. But I remember he was all heavy into wanting to get into the whole gang thing because I was into it, and I would never let him because I didn't want him to turn out like I did. I thought I was protecting him. Sadly, I did it.
So you feel responsible? Like you could have prevented it, or?
In a sense. I guess he was really into that whole lifestyle because I was. Because growing up, that was my era. I was all into gangbanging and smoking and being the hardest, and being a daredevil. And I was exactly like that. And I guess because we were so close and we would always be over, he had sisters, he didn't have brothers. So he just had my 2 cousins, which are his sisters. And I remember he always used to ask me, because I used to be in the tag banging crew or whatever. He would always want me to get him in, and I would never want to. He ended up wandering off on his own going to do it, and he even got it tatted on him. Last that I remember, he had it on his back, and he was just into the lifestyle as well. But he stood with it. I never did. I left it after a while.
What would you tell him right now?
That I love him and I wish he was still here. He was young. He still had a whole life ahead of him. They weren't sure whether they were going to cremate him or bury him, but he's going to get buried. He's going to have a funeral. Now I think about it, it was sort of like a little brother, because he used to see me, everything I try to do, I think he tried to do as well. Because even me, I started getting tatted at a young age. I got my first like at 15, and he wanted to get one so bad too. And I actually took him to go get his first tattoo, and he was a minor as well. But he had his mindset on it and figured why not, and I took him. And he just kept getting tatted after that.
What was his first tattoo?
His mother's name, and that was before she passed away. It was more before. It's just like I said before, I've always felt so pressured. Felt like I had to mature quicker than an average teenager would have. Not that I'm trying to blame my brothers and I love them, but it is harder when you have a special ed brother and you gotta help, and it's been thrown in my head my whole life since I was a kid that I gotta take care of them. I had to basically not make it for me, but for them, because sadly, like my mom's always said, she knows that she's not gonna last long, and it's something that people might take negative, but I guess you could say she was more of a realist. She's being realistic. No matter how much we think it, she knows she's gonna go fast, and she needed me to be mature and take care of household because we didn't have no one else, or at least no one else that she trusted or wanted to leave the house or anything with. I don't know, I guess I felt it was too much pressure, that like I was letting everyone down. And after the whole thing about no one believing me, thinking I was trash, I wasn't gonna turn out to be anything, just all the problems in general. But I could honestly say that no matter what, I don't think I ever had the balls to do it. It just came to a point where I was just thinking about it because I was so tired. But I'm just glad I didn't have the balls to do it at all. I would just tell them, told you so. No matter what, I've always said that I was gonna make it. There are so many people that looked at me, stared at me up and down, have literally told me, and I quote, I could literally look someone up and down and tell if they're gonna make it or not. And they didn't necessarily tell me in my face that I wasn't gonna make it. They just said that and pretty much told me in a nice way that they didn't feel that I was gonna make it. And I've actually had people apologize to me and tell me thinking that they didn't think I was gonna make it and take it as far as I did. And I'm still getting further to this point. Could just say, God bless them. You know what I mean? People think negative, I just keep moving. There's nothing I could do. I just keep going. There's nothing else to do. Can't sit down and cry about it or be pissed about them not thinking I'm gonna make it. Like they say, the best revenge is to prove them wrong. It's exactly what I did. So there's nothing they could tell me now. Just to everyone out there, just keep pushing. Best thing I could tell you, something that I learned, no matter how bad things seem, eventually things start falling into place. It's just a matter of being patient. It's more like a waiting game. And a lot of people don't have the patience and they start going crazy and doing dumb things. Just be patient. Things will fall into place. Just keep pushing. There's nothing you could do. There's no point in being mad at stuff. Just a matter to keep going. Just follow your dream. The way I see it, it's honestly better to know that you've tried and never live with that what if in the back of your mind for the rest of your life. Because I think that's something that depresses people as well. I mean, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But at least you know you tried. Basically, that's it. Just follow your hearts. That's it, really. You know, whatever you're going through now is like they say, there's always someone out there going through something worse. Just enjoy life. You only live it once. And I know I don't want to look back and think how mad or grumpy I was because of some stupid stuff back then. Just laugh at it and live my life, no regrets. So I believe everyone should be able to do that and enjoy their life, so when they're older and they look back and say the stories to their grandkids and everyone, like they have no regrets and they got nothing but great stories to tell. Of course, there's always bad stories and sad dramas and tragedies, but also a lot of great funny ones and life lessons. So I think that's the beauty of it, being able to hit that age and hit no regrets.
I'm very straightforward. I've always told him how much I love him, that he was a wanted child. You know, that we both wanted him. His father and I,